I can run too, says the bear, glaring back with a grin that turns poor Charlie's glitter to gloom. Charlie meets the bear's blistering stare for a couple of ticks more, and then out from under the covers he springs, and out across the bottoms he tears, ears laid low, tail hoisted high, and little feet hitting the ground 66 steps a second. Fast. But the big old bear, with his big old feet, merely takes 1, 2, 3 double big steps and takes Charlie over, snags him up, swallows him down, hair, hide, and all. High up in his hole, Tricker blinks his eyes in amazement. Yep, he has to allow that big bugger can really run. The bear then walks down the hill to the big granite boulder by the creek where Long Rellers the rabbit lived. He listens a moment, his ear to the stone, and then he lifts one of those size 50 feet, as big as his double big legs can hoist it, lifted like a huge hairy pile driver, and with one stomp turns poor Long Reller's granite fortress into a sand pile all over the rabbit's breakfast table. You lost our clodhopper, Long Reller squeals, trying to dig the sand out of one of his long ears with a wild parsnip. This is my breakfast, not yours. You've got a nerve come stomping down here in our bottom, busting up our property and our privacy. This isn't your stomping grounds. I hate to tell you this, cousin, but I'm Big Double, and all the ground I please to stomp on is mine. I ate the hills bare and the foothills clean. I ate the woodchuck that run, and now I'm gonna eat you up. I'll run, says the rabbit. Yeah, I can run too, says the bear. I'll jump, says the rabbit. I can jump too, says the bear, grinning and glaring and wiggling his whiskers wickedly at the rabbit. Long Rellers wiggles his whiskers back a couple of ticks, and then out across the territory rips the rabbit, a cloud of dust boiling up from his heels like the dust from a motor scooter scooting up a steep dirt road. But right after him comes the bear, like a loaded log truck coming down a steeper one. Long Rellers is almost to the hedge, at the edge of the topple pasture, when he gathers his long ears and his elbows under him, and he jumps for the brambles, springing up into the air as quick as a covey of quail flushing, fast and far. But the big old bear, with his big old legs, springs after him like a rocket ship roaring, and takes the rabbit over at the peak of his jump, and snags him up and swallows him down, ears, elbows, and everything. Good as his word, the big bum can certainly jump, admits Tricker, watching bug-eyed from his high bedroom window. Next, a bear goes down to where Whittier Creek is dribbling drowsy by. He grabs the creek by its bank and with one wicked snap, snaps it like a bedspread. This snap Sally snips Sister the Martin clear out of her mud burrow boudoir and her toenail polish, somersetting her over and over into the air, and lands her hard in the emptied creek bed along with stunned mud puppies and minnows. You backwoods bully, Sally hisses. You ridge-running rowdy. What are you doing down out of your ridges, ripping up our rivers? This ain't your play puddle. Well, ma'am, I'm Big Double, and any puddle I please to play in is mine. I ate the ridges raw and the backwoods bald. I ate the woodchuck and I ate the rabbit, and now I'm gonna eat you up. I'll run, says the martin. Yeah, I can run too, says the bear. I'll jump, says the martin. I can jump too, says the bear. I'll climb, says the martin. I can climb too, says the bear, and champs his big yellow choppers in a challenging chomp. Sally clicks back at him with her own sharp little teeth for a tick or two, and then off she shoots like the bullet out of a pistol. But right after her booms the bear like a meteor out of a cannon. Sally springs out of the creek bed like a silver salmon jumping, but the bear jumps after her like a flying shark. She catches the trunk of the cottonwood and climbs like an electric yo-yo whizzing up a wire. But the bear climbs after her like a jet-propelled elevator up a greasy groove, and he takes her over, and he snags her up, and he swallows her down. Teeth, toenails, and teetotal. And then, it so happens, while that big bear is hugging the tree and licking his lips, he sees that he is eye to eye with a little hole that is none other than the door of the bedroom of Tricker the Squirrel. Yes, sirree, Bob Tricker has to concede you also sure as shooting can climb. Who are you, roars the bear. I'm Tricker the Squirrel, and I saw it all, and there's just no two ways about it. I'm impressed. You may have been a little short-changed in the thinking department, but when it comes to running and jumping and climbing, you got double portions. And eat, roars the bear into the hole. I'm big double, and I ate. I know, says Tricker, his fingers in his ears. The ridge is raw and the hill's whole. I heard it all, too. Now, I'm going to eat. You're going to eat me up, I know, said Grounster. But first, I'm going to run, right? I'm going to run, too, says the bear. And I'm going to jump, says Tricker. I'm going to jump, too, says the bear. And I'm going to drink some buttermilk, says Tricker. I'm going to drink some buttermilk, too, says the bear. And then I'm going to climb, says Tricker. And I'm going to climb, too, says the bear. And then, says Tricker, smiling and winking and plucking at one of his longest whiskers, dainty as a riverboat gambler with a sleeve full of secrets, I am going to fly. This bamboozles the bear, and for a second he furrows his big brow. But everybody, even short-changed grizzly bears named Big Double, knows that red squirrels can't fly, not even red squirrels named Tricker. Well then, says the bear, grinning, winking, plucking at one of his own longest, whitest whiskers with a big clumsy claw. When you fly, I'll fly too. We'll see about that, says Tricker, and without a word or a wink more, reaches over to jerk the bear's whisker clean out. Oh, roars the bear, and he makes a nab. But Tricker's out the hole and streaking down the tree trunk like a bolt of greased lightning, with the bear thundering behind him, meaner and madder than ever. Tricker streaks across the bottom toward the Topple farm, with the bear storming right on his tail. When he reaches the milk house, where Farmer Topple cools his dairy products, he jumps right through the window. The bear jumps right through after him. Tricker hops up to the edge of a gallon crock and begins to guzzle up the thick, cool buttermilk like he hadn't had a sip of liquid for a month. Bear knocks him aside, picks up the whole crock and sucks it down like he was a 7-year drought. Tricker then hops up to the rim of the 5-gallon crock, starts to lap up the buttermilk. Bear knocks him aside again, hefts the crock, guzzles it down. Tricker doesn't even bother hopping to the brim of the last crock, a 10-galloner. He just stands back, dodging the drops, while the bear heaves the vessel high, tips it up, and gradually guzzles it empty. The bear finally plunks down the last crock, and he wipes his chops and he roars, I'm Big Double, and I ate the high hills. I know, says Tricker. Let's skip the roaring and get right on to the last part, okay? After I run and jump and drink buttermilk, then I climb. I climb to it, says the bear, belching. And I fly, says Tricker. I fly to up, says the bear, hiccuping. So back out of the milk house jumps Tricker, and off he goes, dusting back toward the cottonwood like a baby dust devil, with a bear huffing right at his heels like a full-blown tornado. And up the tree he scorches like a house on fire. But the bear is right on his tail, like a volcano blowing. Higher and higher climbs Tricker, with the bear's hot breath buffing, hotter and hotter and closer and closer and higher until there's barely any tree left. And then out into the fine fall air springs Tricker, as light as a little red leaf on the wind. And before the bear thinks better of it, out he springs himself like a 10-ton milk tanker over a cliff. I forgot to mention, Tricker sings out as he grabs the leafy top of that first sun-touched hazelnut tree and hangs there, swinging and swaying. I can also trick. Arrgh! His pursuer answers, plummeting past. Arrgh! All the way till he splatters on the hillside like a thumping ripe melon. When the dust and debris clear back, Sally Snipsister wriggles up from the wrecked remains and says, "I'm up." Then Longrellers the rabbit jumps up and says, "I'm up." Then Charlie Charles the woodchuck pops up and says, "I'm out." "I," says Tricker, swinging high in the sunny branches where the hazelnuts are just about perfect, was never in to get out. And everybody laughed. And the birds finally woke up and commenced to sing. And the hazelnuts got more and more perfect. And the buttermilk just rolled down the hill. Thank you. Okay, very quickly, right on over now into our third section of the show. Here are the Art Maddox here on the piano. Steve Schuster on the woodwinds. John Swan on the effects and spray cans. Arzenia Richardson on the bass. Still Kesey inside the Thunder Machine. I saw this program about the possibility of Reagan running for a third term. And I couldn't believe what a bunch of candy-ass chicken shits the Democrats were bringing about it. They're saying, "Oh, no, you can't let him run in the third term." I thought to myself, I'll run against him anytime he wanted to do, whether he runs for the third term or not. I mean, you don't have a guy not run just because he might beat you. You run against him because the sucker's wrong. So as I cogitated and wondered about this, 4th of July came up, and after watching 72 hours of us jerking each other off about what great things we were, I went to sleep, and I saw a horrendous dream. I saw the Statue of Liberty have unspeakable congress with the Fuji blimp and give birth to a new national hero. First, I thought it was a right-wing hero, farther right than Reagan ever thought to be. I thought, well, like in football, if you got a play that's working for you, you keep running that same play. Let's bomb all nations smaller than us that start with L. But then there wasn't much you could do with that sort of direction, so I thought, no, I'll go to the left. That's where I feel myself more natural. So I began to think about putting together my campaign. First thing to do with a campaign is you have to establish a region. First little song I'm going to sing is my regional song, let you know where I'm coming from, as it were. They're tuning it up. Takes them a long time to get the old broad going back there. Stroker, boys. Second thing is, give up on the beard, is to oh, right, I forgot. I always keep forgetting this thing, the purification. This, before you even establish what region you're from, or make peace with the earth god, or show that how tight you are with the angels, you got to purify yourself, folks. Wait till Nancy gets this. Engine room, engine room. How are we doing over there? Okay, good enough. Good enough. Well, it was obvious to me right off that there wasn't many places left to be from if you're going to run for the president. Let's see if you can pull some more out of there. Is there more in there, Zane? This is the experimental part of the show, you folks can understand. Because Reagan has Orange County sewed up pretty good, right? And Orange County runs pretty much all the way to the East Coast now. Yeah, this is hard work, folks. This rock and roll is always hard, dry work. This is a song about where you're coming from, and I decided to come from where Snoopy's brother came from, because ain't nobody else taking over that region. So this is from that area. Okay, guys, hit it. I'm a bar stew in Barstow, I met her. In Kingman, I quelled all her qualms. And in Phoenix, I fought to forget her. Do the clapping, a 29 pound. Oh, Molly, my dear Valley Dolly, you're gone, by golly, you're dead. Where the scorpions hide and the sidewinders slide, my fierce little falcon has fled, eating noodles and needles. She caught me with a Nogales gal on my knee, and in while brawling in Brawley, she shot me, and then she jumped in that sad salton sea. Oh, Molly, my Death Valley
gone, by golly, you're dead. Where the road runners run from the coyote sun, you lie in your alkali bed. You lie in your alkali bed. Right on over from that one, you only got two more folks. Hang in there. This one takes a little feeling around for it. Yep. It's, very slow her down there, Zane. Let me move away from it a little. Bring me down here a little on the tube. Do 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 bong bong dong dong dong. You have to kind of feel around for the beat on this one because this is in a reggae beat, which is hard for us to find in there. Go after it, you guys. You can find it in there. There, you can hear it coming. They're getting it. Do it again, yeah. Ragweed Ruth was unmowed maize. She was nightshade in the morning. Her ragged flag was often raised, but she raised it like a warning. No mate had she, but emptiness, no family filled her time. She sipped instead on bitterness, just like it was sweet wine. She filled her throat with emptiness, just like it was sweet wine. Now the best bread once found anywhere was left by her old man's leaving, but she farmed those fields like a fool at prayer and watered them with dreaming. Her grain was threshed by thunderings, chopped up by forked rakes. Her hay was wind and wanderings. Her trees were tangled snakes. Mop. Her rain was fished by thunderings. Her trees were tangled snakes. Each spring, the farmers from around brought axes and advices, but Ruth would firmly glare them down to forge her own devices, for she was plenty to herself. She survived the seasons through. She was dark bred, dipped in health. She was her own strong brew. Dark bred, dipped in salty health. She was her own strong brew. Then came the day when the farming men dried up and cracked and fled. Ruth invited all the families in, and somehow all were fed. Plow never cleft her bottom land, nor harrow stroked her sod. Still, golden ears and marzipan sprung up from where she trod 'em up. Golden ears and the marzipan sprung up from where she trod. The passing of her wandering walk could fill a tree with fruit, and at her glare the shriveled stalk would straighten, stand, and root. The dry times passed, as all times will, and back to the crippled county returned the rain and the sprouts to till its seeming endless bounty. The guests all gathered up and left with their advice and axes. Old Ruth Rag danced on to death. Her land was sold for taxes. The guests all gathered up and left with their advice and axes. Old Ruth Rag danced on to death. Her land was sold for taxes. And the last song here, ladies and gentlemen, that proves that we're in tight with God, I want to explain a little bit about, because I thought that most people would understand it, and I found that they wouldn't. A walnutto is a little piece of candy about that big, and it's wrapped in a little piece of wax paper. We used to get them when we went to movies. You got them in a little box that cost a nickel. There was 10 in the little box. You unpeeled the wax paper, and you sat there in the movies, and you chewed on them, and they were taffy, and there was walnuts in there. It was a nice time. This song is about that time and its holy return. Okay, search around for it in there, gentlemen. Find us a crescendo. Go ahead. Whoop, whoop, you got what, hey, also, at a certain point in this song, keep going, you guys, you're getting it. At a certain point in this song, we go into what's called, the Dead call it the Rhythm Devil section. We call it the Thunder Demons. This is the Space Jam. And we've helped a lot of people out in the past. When we get into this spacey, empty part, I'd like to have all those guys in the audience who would like to come up here on stage with us and help us in the Thunder Jam part. Ooze their way on up this way. Wavy and Gaylord and Garcia and you guys coming up. We're going to need some help when we get to the third Space Jammy section, or anybody else who has anything that they'd like to clack against their libido. You'll know when it comes. You ready?